Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. Before we get started, we acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 2 land, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Assiniboine, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and homeland of the Red River Métis. We affirm our commitment to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities, including the national government of the Red River Métis, in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Laughlin. Be it resolved that the regular meeting agenda be amended as follows. We've got two additions, item 6B and item 9C. Call for the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And moved by Bellemare, seconded by Laughlin, that we accept the agenda as amended. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Laughlin and seconded by Councillor Ray that we waive the reading and accept and approve the regular council meeting minutes of July the 13th of this year. Any questions or comments regarding anything in the minutes from that meeting? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. We'll go right to the consent agenda. Got a couple of things here to go over. We've got one proclamation today, and I'd like to call on Councillor Bellemare to read that.
Thank you. So our proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Joan Donovan O'Malley was born in Dauphin, Manitoba in 1944, while her father, Ken Donovan, was stationed at No. 10 Service Flying Training School during the Second World War and spent the first year of her life in our community. And whereas Joan Donovan O'Malley played a unique and historic role in the creation of Canada's national flag by sewing the first maple leaf flag prototype in 1964 during the development of the design that would become one of the nation's most enduring symbols. And whereas the Canadian flag has for more than 60 years represented the unity, diversity, freedom, and shared values of Canadians both at home and around the world. And whereas the City of Dauphin is proud of its connection to this remarkable chapter in Canada's history and is honored to welcome Joan Donovan O'Malley and her family back to the community of her birth. And whereas Council wishes to recognize Joan Donovan O'Malley's lasting contribution to our nation and to express its gratitude for preserving and sharing this important piece of Canadian heritage, now therefore we, the Mayor, Council, and citizens of Dauphin, do hereby recognize and honor Joan Donovan O'Malley for her unique contribution to Canadian history and her enduring connection to the City of Dauphin, dated this day of August 2026, and signed by our Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bellemare. We've got a couple of our one outstanding water account to be added to taxes. That's roll 02-79300, $222.55. The owner did not pay the final water bill. And a couple of outstanding receivable accounts added to taxes. Roll number 0296870 in the amount of $420.26. That's a temporary storage fee. And roll number 0165200, bylaw fines in the total of $106.54. Got a couple of filing items from the Prairie Mountain Health, Dauphin Regional Health Center update, and the Health Plus newsletter. We have a newsletter from the Manitoba Emergency Measures. We have Manitoba financial reporting processes from the Auditor General, the Parkland Regional Flood Group, request for a comprehensive review of the 2026 flooding event and a long-term mitigation strategy. Parkland Chamber of Commerce sent us their Chamber Matters and their annual Street Fair and Dance update, and Growing Manitoba Ag newsletter for August. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Ray, that all items listed and read under the consent agenda be approved and form part of these minutes. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Laughlin and seconded by Councillor Ray that Council accepts as info the corporate report for today's meeting, and that's from the City Manager, and we've got 2 months from the Manager. Charlotte, is there anything you wanted to bring to our attention?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From the June report, I just wanted to say how excited we are that we have broke ground on the child care center. The piles are in. We had a bit of a discussion after the flood regarding the high water level on the site, and we did adjust the actual floor elevation of the daycare up about I can't remember, 6 or 8 inches, just to be sure everything stays out of the water. Crawl space came up and everything just to make sure that we're out of the high water level. But that is very exciting that is moving. And then from the July report, as everybody knows, almost all of our time, it felt like in the first 2 weeks at least, were dedicated to flood and coordination of different services and whatnot. But I do want to highlight something a little different. I ended the report by saying, if you have questions, please ask. We are about 11 weeks away from the general election at the end of October. There's many people interested in our community about municipal politics. We hosted a candidate information session on July 15th and really had a good time talking to a handful of people, but they were interested people, and that was good to see. Our website also has really good information regarding the election. So if at any time people have questions about the election, about our community, about decisions of City Hall, please call or come into City Hall and ask those questions. And that's it. Thank you.
Great. Motion by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Ray, to accept the Deputy City Manager's report for the month of July. Lisa, do you have something you want to comment on before we pass this resolution?
Thank you, Mayor Bosiak. July was a very busy month for me in my office. However, there were a lot of things that were HR related, so I will leave those in my report, but I just wanted to put in another reminder as well about the municipal election on October 28th. I'd like to make sure that residents are encouraged to be sure that they're on the voters list, that they learn about the candidates and the issues, and that they consider running if they've been thinking about it. Nomination period is September 16th to the 22nd. And most importantly, that they exercise their right to vote on October 28th. So we're hoping for a strong voter turnout, which helps to ensure that council reflects the priorities and the values of the community. And that's all for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll call for the question of both the City Manager's report and the Deputy City Manager's report. All in favor of those reports? Opposed? Motions are carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Laughlin. Being resolved that financial accounts having been examined by council be hereby authorized and approved as follows. We had a pretty busy month. It's been a long time since we had our last meeting. So we had 111 checks in the first run, in totaling $1,159,845.48. And we had 2 additional checks for an additional $3,536,692.77 for a total of $4,696,538.25 in terms of payments. We had a number of voided checks. I won't go through the specifics, but it looks like our check writing machine was eating checks. But there were 7 checks that were damaged and reissued, and we had 4 voided checks in the past range, and those were all due to the Canada Day events being canceled. There were 7 electronic payments during the period for a total of $34,650.14. Any questions or comments around anything, Charla?
Just for council's information, there was an addition of those 2 checks that totaled over $3.5 million. Those were for the education taxes, both that goes to the school division and to the province. We have to give those, hand those over by the end of August. So August 31st. We walk the check over or drive the check over to Mountain View School Division on the 31st, but we have to mail the provincial one about a week earlier to make sure it gets to the province by the end of August. And that was just an oversight on our part. The meeting's quite early this year, this year in August, and so we wanted to make sure that we added that. But that is the school taxes, not only that we collected, but that are owing to the schools, both the province, the school division and the province. And then as we get, we collect all the other taxes, we do get paid back for the ones that we haven't collected yet.
Thanks for that clarification. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Daly, seconded by Laughlin. Be resolved that we accept as information the unaudited financial statements for the period ending April 30th, and that's the general fund balance sheet, an income statement, and a utility fund balance sheet and income statement. Anything in those 2 reports council wants to discuss? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Bellemare, seconded by Ray, that council accepts as information the reserve report for the period of ending April of 2026. Questions in that report? No? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin and seconded by Councillor Daly that we accept the 2026 property tax collection report. Charla, speak to that, please.
Sure. So you can see in 2026, we actually have maybe 5% or so more uncollected taxes than we have in previous years or in the previous couple years, and you know, upwards of 9% from years prior to that. Unfortunately, there's a couple properties that have high amounts of outstanding taxes, so it's not really a general trend in our community. It's just a couple places that we're going to be working with.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, that we accept the engineering staff report from the building inspector for the month of July. Any comments about the building inspector's report? All in favor? Opposed? And moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Bellemare, that we accept the protective services report for today's meeting for the month of July from the bylaw enforcement officer. Anything in the bylaw enforcement officer's report that council would like to discuss? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, that we accept as information the protective services report for today's meeting for the month of July from the animal services officer. Anything in the animal services officer's report? All in favor? Opposed? Accepting that report. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Bellemare, be resolved that council accepts the minutes from the following committees, and that's the Dauphin District Candy Van, their regular board meeting of June the 16th and July the 21st. Any questions or comments regarding anything in these reports? Councillor Bellemare.
Yes, I have a question. Okay, they referred to slime kits in their minutes. Does anyone know what a slime kit is for a handy van? Steve's not here, so Councillor Sobering. So, all right. So to be continued. I'll have to wait. Thank you.
I think, and they've also been a little bit busier because of the hospital situation. So they've done some adjusting. Next item, moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Ray. Whereas the city, in conjunction with Manitoba Early Learning and Childcare, is constructing the Prairie Park Place Early Learning Centre to expand access to licensed childcare spaces and support the long-term needs of families, employers, and the community. And whereas the project requires installation of three-phase electrical service to support the operation of the facility, and whereas Manitoba Hydro has provided electrical services agreement number 201-85249 for the installation of the required infrastructure at a cost of $68,963.32 plus tax, for a total cost of $72,411.49. With the work having been identified as part of the approved Early Learning Center budget, be resolved that council accepts information the agreement from the Hydro, recommending execution of the agreement with Hydro to schedule and complete the installation at the facility. And further be resolved that council agrees with the project and development manager's recommendation approving the agreement with Hydro for the installation of these services and authorizes the manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the city. Questions or comments? No, it's just that project is going to start taking off quickly now that the piles are in the ground, so good to see all that work being done. The next item is moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin and seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Whereas the city is committed to providing a safe and healthy workplace where all employees are protected from workplace harassment, violence, and threats of violence, and whereas Manitoba's Workplace Safety and Health Act and Workplace Safety and Health Regulation requires employers to establish measures and procedures to prevent and respond to harassment and violence from a workplace safety perspective. And whereas the administration has developed workplace harassment and violence prevention policy number 2.9 to establish a comprehensive framework for preventing, reporting, investigating, and responding to incidents of workplace harassment, violence, threats of violence, and related workplace safety concerns, while complementing the city's existing respectful workplace policy Be it resolved that council accepts as information a memo dated July the 10th from the Deputy City Manager noting that the Workplace Harassment and Violence Prevention Policy 2.9 includes requirements for workplace violence risk assessments, reporting and investigation procedures, employee training, post-incident supports, and associated reporting and investigation forms to ensure a consistent and legislatively compliant approach throughout the organization, and recommending that this policy be approved. Further be resolved, the council agrees with the Deputy City Manager's recommendation and approves Workplace Harassment and Violence Prevention Policy 2.9. Questions or comments regarding this? No, Lisa's done a lot of work on it. Call for the question. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. Council is very agreeable today. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Whereas the Dauphin Minor Ball Association has applied to the 2026 Sport Program Funding Facility Grant for financial assistance in the amount of $10,000 to undertake a baseball diamond improvement at the Vermilion Sportsplex, and whereas the proposed improvements are intended to enhance the safety, quality, and functionality of the baseball diamonds, supporting increased use by local and regional organizations, and strengthening the city's ability to host future baseball events, including provincial championships. Be it resolved, the council accepts as information a request dated the August the 5th from the Dauphin Minor Ball Association for a letter supporting its application to the grant for a diamond improvement at the Sportsplex. Further be resolved that council authorizes the mayor to provide a letter on behalf of the city in support of their grant application. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Daly. Whereas Dauphin Rec Services, the DRS, owns and operates Credit Union Place and the Rotary Arena, which serves as important community and regional recreation facilities supporting hockey, curling, figure skating, public skating, walking programs, youth programming, tournaments, community events, and other recreation activities. And whereas the DRS was encouraged by Hockey Canada to apply to the Government of Canada's Build Community Strong Fund direct delivery stream for funding towards infrastructure improvements and upgrades at the arena. And whereas DRS requested a letter of support from the city for its application for $250,000 in funding towards proposed arena infrastructure upgrades, including improvements intended to modernize the facility, improve reliability and user comfort, and support the continued operation of these important community assets. And whereas due to the grant application deadline, a letter of support was provided on behalf of the city in advance of this of formal council consideration. Be it resolved that council accepts information, the request dated July 17th from DRS for a letter of support for this grant program. Further be resolved that council approves and ratifies the letter of support provided on behalf of the city in support of their application for these upgrades. Questions or comments? Councillor Bellemare.
Would they be hearing about that this fall? Like, do we have any idea of the timeline?
Councillor Reid, do you know about that grant application?
No, and sometimes grant applications are not always a set award date. We usually know the due date, and it feels like the award date is a bit of a moving target. So I hope to hear sooner than later.
And it was great that we were encouraged to apply.
Good. We're good with that. Thank you. The next item, moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Ray. Whereas the city's water treatment plant is connected to the city via a large diameter pipe commonly referred to as aqueduct, which is approximately 80 years old. And whereas over the years, the city has repaired sections of the aqueduct, both through planned maintenance and as issues arise. And whereas currently there is a section of the aqueduct near and under Edwards Creek that needs to be replaced due to deterioration, which results in daily water loss. And whereas the utility manager obtained quotes for the repair and materials required, be it resolved that council accepts as information a memo dated August 10th from the utility manager outlining the repair work required and the process to obtain quotes for the work and materials, and recommending the repair work be done by Rob Smith and Son for a cost of $170,000 plus taxes, and the materials be provided by EMCO Waterworks Corporation for a cost of $45,338.52. Further be resolved that council agrees with the recommendation and approves and repairs of the aqueduct for the said price, and that these costs be funded from the utility reserve. Any questions or comments regarding this? I think, Charlotte, we had talked previously as well that we've applied for some support from the province for
That's
more
correct.
work on the
We
aqueduct.
we wanted to do an evaluation of the aqueduct, the entire pipe between the water treatment plant in town. But this is a fix that we feel that we cannot wait due to the water loss.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lachlan. Be resolved that bylaw 04-2026, the property standards bylaw of the City of Dauphin, be now read a first time. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Daly, seconded by Lachlan. Be resolved that bylaw 05-2026, the vacant and boarded buildings bylaw, be now read a first time. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Moved by Bellemare, seconded by Ray. Be resolved that bylaw 06-2026, the derelict building bylaw of the city, be now read a first time. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And moved by Lachlan and seconded by Ray. Be resolved that bylaw 07-2026, there's a theme here, folks. The general enforcement bylaw of the city, be now read a first time. Next item, moved by Councillor Ray. All in favor? Yep. Everybody's just nodding, so I'm just assuming that we're good. But I need to ask a question. You're absolutely right. The next item, moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Daly. Be resolved that bylaw 08-2026, the administrative penalties bylaw of the City of Dauphin, be now read a first time. All in favor? We're good. He nodded, yep. And moved by Deputy Mayor Lachlan and seconded by Councillor Ray. Be resolved that bylaw 10-2026, fees, fines, and charges bylaw amendment, be read a first time. All in favor? All right, we got all those done. I just want to hats off to Lisa. I know at the previous meeting, we had lots of discussions on these things. So lots of work being done to tune up our bylaws. So hats off to you for doing all of that interesting work. It's just painstaking and wording has to be correct. And so I appreciate your efforts on that. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Bellemare, that we accept the councillor reports. Well, let's not accept them until we hear them. And let's start with Deputy. He's all by himself over here on the left-hand side.
Yeah, a lot of breathing room here tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And I got good news for you. Not a whole heck of a lot happened for me over the last few weeks. It's been quiet time, which is usually the case for the summer season. But I was happy to find out, like many in Dauphin last week, that the Parkland Chamber of Commerce is going to hold the street fair. It's going to be on Friday, September 18th. Obviously great to hear that that's going to go forward this year. So mark that on your calendar. That's actually going to be a great weekend here in Dauphin, because on the 18th, it'll be the street fair. And then on the 19th, it's the King's Home Opener. But before the King's Home Opener, there's going to be a fundraising event in the parking lot at Credit Union Place, a touch truck event for Dauphin Neighborhood Renewal Corporation. So there's going to be lots going on that weekend. So stay tuned for more details on that weekend. But just really looking forward to that, especially with everything that's gone on here in the community over the last month and a half or so. So for me, that ends my report, but you can expect a whole lot more coming up in just a couple weeks.
Wow. Anticipation. Let's go to the far end. Councillor Daly, are you ready to go?
Yeah, thank you. Sort of. Had a hard time finding the button. July 20th, attended the P&P. I think that was the last official meeting we had. July 27th, I actually met with the city manager to get some flood updates, because there was a lot of information and misinformation out and about, and people were asking questions. So I had a good meeting with Charlotte to get facts straight. July 29th, I spoke actually with several doctors, wanted to chat about same sort of thing, concerns and misinformation, and so I was able to update them. On July 30th, attended a meeting here at City Hall with Prairie Mountain Health, MLA Ron Costician, Shared Health on hospital issues, updates and planning. And then that evening, I listened to listened and watched the webinar by Shared Health following that meeting we had at lunchtime. That's all I had, but I just wanted to give a shout out to the city for its support with tents and signage at the Dauphin Pickleball Club tournament this weekend, which was a huge success. We had 70 participants and a large contingent of fans and interested people. Perfect weather, perfect day. Everyone was really, really impressed. All of the out-of-towners were really impressed with the facilities and the grounds and everything that was available. And these are folks from Regina and Winnipeg, and so they have their own thing. But it was a real good showing for Dauphin, and we really appreciate Ember providing us with all the extra signage and tents. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Daly. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 13th, I attended our last regular council meeting. On the 15th, we had our Community Safety Wellbeing Advisory meeting with CCFSC. July 20th, I was present for our Planning and Priorities meeting. And on the 22nd, I attended a rec meeting at DRC. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. Councillor Bellemare.
Thank you. On July 20th, I attended the Planning and Priorities meeting. On 21st, I met with senior management and we worked on our climate adaptation strategies for our city plan. It was way easier to do that together with other people rather than doing it all by myself. We had a very productive session. Ongoing text communications and decisions with Riverside Cemetery Board. And on July 30th, I too attended that webinar with the Prairie Mountain Health update on our hospital. Skip that. Farmers markets have started on Friday afternoons, so reminder to attend those. And also a bunch of fundraisers. Gilbert Plains Golf Course is online with a 50-50. Apparently there's a Ukrainian festival online fundraiser as well. Red Cross is taking donations and big party on August 29th. So lots of things being done to help people help each other during these trying times. And also, Sean isn't here, but he wrote a really good editorial in the last Herald that helped me understand what's happening. We noticed that there's a difference in our flyers in our mailboxes. And basically what's happened is that there's a company called Radar that is now doing most of the flyers, and that's coming out of Quebec. And that, Dauphin Herald, I think it's really important to keep our local newspaper. I've said that before. And they have lost revenue because of this new setup, which was quite shocking to them. And this affects all small local newspapers. So I have put a little sign on my mailbox at Sean's recommendations in his editorial and telling Canada Post to not put any unaddressed advertising into my mailbox. So, it's kind of a competition between the Dauphin Herald and Canada Post, but I'm with Dauphin Herald on this one, and Canada Post, they'll just have to figure out their financial problems some other way. So make your voices heard on that one and support local newspapers. And kudos, great to see all the city's construction projects that are happening. Staff's been working really hard. And also just a shout out to Ryan Rollick and his team for organizing that Ukrainian Musicians Weekend at 8th Avenue Hall at the beginning of August. So it was, it wasn't a substitute for the festival, but it was neat to be able to have something happening. And he invited our dance group. So then we really like the guy. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I was attending a bunch of stuff last couple of weeks, mostly flood related and follow-ups, but there was a AMM regional call on the 20th that we participated in. When I say we, mostly Charlotte and I've been at most of these calls. And we also had a meeting with the RCMP, and this was in addition to our protective services report, but we met with the district commander and staff sergeant. Just RCMP basically has biannual meetings with all of the communities that they're serving with their community policing model. So we had a really good discussion with them and about the relationship that we've developed with them and they with us. And so that was pretty productive discussion. We had an RM liaison meeting on the 22nd on the advice of the Reeve of just post-flood, but we've got some issues with the Justice Center and flood response and regional response regarding to the flood. So Charlotte and I met with Grady and Ernie over at the RM office, and I think the relationship is getting stronger and stronger all the time. And so I really appreciate that at a political level with the Reeve, but I think that the relationship that Charlotte has with the CAO over there is very strong and very productive, very professional, and that's just good for us as a collective community. We had a great event on the 23rd. We took Minister Glenn Samard for a ride up at Northgate. And he's the Minister of Municipal Relations, but also the minister responsible for the Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries Corporation. And Liquor and Lotteries provided $15,000 to create a new trail. And so it's called For the Birds, and it's a little loop around the old retention pond right by the old pump house. So it's just at the end of Gatehouse, the Gatehouse Trail. And so we had Minister Smart up there, and he got a little dirty and he got a little sweaty. It was like 30 degrees, but he also commented, and this is a shout out to the Premier, that he went further than the Premier did when we did the Fat Bike Ride with Cabinet a couple years ago. So he was pretty pumped about that and very impressed with the work that's being done up there, even after the flood. We had a meeting as well with an online meeting with the Center for Justice folks on the 24th of July, and it's full steam ahead with the project. We were a little bit concerned that in light of the flood and all the activities regarding the flood and getting rehabilitation with the hospital and other things, that the Justice Center might be on the back burner, but apparently it's not. It's full bore, and expect activity out there sooner than later. And then last week we had a meeting with the Rural Regional Health Authority at the end of July, and an update, and then the evening telehealth RHA call. And so lots of stuff was going on at the end of July. And last week, there was nothing. Quiet week. So call for the question then to accept the report. All in favor? Anyone opposed? And that's it. And moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, that we recess at 5:35.